Ing subway tunnels after hours promise on the transfer ticket. The subway after midnight is a body exhaling. By day it's all elbows and timetables. At night it becomes a whisper chamber of steel, dripping pipes, and the steady pulse of rails that know too much. I walk down the employee stairs with my phone face down in my left pocket, the pocket I use for things that are supposed to make it home. A night supervisor with eyes like wet concrete waved me past without asking why. The tunnels were warm and smelled of dust, grease, and decisions people pretend not to own. Back home, Aaron had said, "Can we talk tomorrow?" in the voice that really means please stay now. Our couch is a courtroom when it wants to be. If we sit at opposite ends long enough, it swears us in and demands a verdict. I left before opening statements. On the stairwell, my screen lit with a message from D. Diego in my contacts, D in the way I label hazards to make them smaller. Switch room, just talk. He didn't add a smile. He doesn't need to. He trusts me to carry my own appetite. By day, I fix other people's paragraphs for a transit authority newsletter that believes commas can save reputations. By night, I try not to turn my own into weapons. Aaron and I keep a code that works when we remember it. T means come here. You awake. Means I'm scared. Tomorrow means not yet, but don't go far. Diego re-entered orbit 2 months ago when I shadowed him for a feature on maintenance crews. He wore a vest unzipped one too many and a laugh that sounded like a glass agreeing to be set down gently. He didn't ask for anything. That was how I started bringing him everything. The switch room was a pocket of bright in a river of dark. Panels glowed amber and green, levers waited with mechanical patience, and a rack of tools hummed their metallic lullabies. Diego leaned against the console, sleeves pushed, collar unpunished. A transfer ticket sat on the desk, blank side up, beside a stub of pencil that had outlived 3 shifts. He looked at me with the kind of tired precision you can't buy. "You came," he said, "because grown men never tire of pretending arrival is a plot twist." "I came to return something," I said. "My wrench, your restraint." "Your name," I said. "It's been on my mouth too long for its own health." He tapped the transfer ticket. "3 words," he said. "Why are you here?" "3 words is cruel," I said. "That's why they work." He nudged the pencil toward me. "No speeches near the breakers. They cut power when bored." I wrote proud at breakfast. Beneath it, smaller like a fuse I might or might not light, touch before arguing. He read the graphite as if it had temperature. He didn't touch me. His hand hovered a breath from my lapel, the distance a match keeps during training, and fell back to the console like the gauges had objected. "Does he know?" Diego asked. He didn't need to weaponize the pronoun. "He knows the apartment is quiet," I said. He pulled a lever and a distant relay answered like a loyal dog. "We're trained to double-check every switch," he said. "One slip, and the whole line learns a lesson it didn't ask for." "Do we get a double check?" I asked. "Only if we're braver than the power draw." He stepped into my weather. Heat arrived before hands do when men are trying to be better than their appetites. "Tell me no," he said softly, ritual disguised as permission. I didn't. I met him in the inch that rewrites evenings. His mouth tasted like mint and bitter coffee. When his hand found the back of my neck, his grip remembered humane limits. My body answered like a courtroom that wants the witness anyway. He made the sound men make when a small country surrenders and calls it diplomacy. I made the sound I've learned not to hate when it belongs to him. We didn't rush. Rail systems punish haste with headlines. His mouth found the hinge of my jaw. Mine found the line behind his ear where regret loses vocabulary. His palm slid under my shirt and rested flat for a second. "Do you swear?" Then moved with attention rather than appetite. He guided my hand down with the steadiness of someone who respects tools. I closed my fingers and he exhaled against my mouth a truth nobody had paid to hear. He reached for me and I let him. We stayed quiet because steel prefers prose. Somewhere, a train passed above like punctuation that didn't ask permission. "We already cheated," he said when breath remembered its job. "We cheated the week we started telling each other the truth before we told it at home." "I know," I said, and a signal lamp blinked its indifference. He folded the transfer ticket and slid it into my left pocket with ceremonial slowness. His thumb traced my wrist once and chose not to stay. He stepped back the moral inch that passes inspection. "I booked a bunk in the crew dorm," he said, not triumphant. "Weather report, not prophecy. Refundable. We could stand at the window and not touch for 60 seconds to prove we remember ceremony. We could keep the do not disturb honest." "I'm tired of being clever," I said. "Clever's a detour," he said. "Accurate is the timetable." He opened a locker and pulled out a novelty magnet shaped like a subway car, ridiculous and perfect, and pressed it into my palm. "For your fridge," he said. "Cold helps letters behave." We walked the service tunnel side by side, listening to water drip Morse no one translated. He showed me a junction where 4 tracks pretended to love each other. He touched a bolt with reverence. "Everything here is persuasion," he said. "Metal agrees because we ask in the right order." "You're talking about us," I said. "I'm talking about both." He smiled without humor. When I left, the night supervisor barely looked up from his crossword. The crosswalk gave me time, I took it. The apartment offered its square of kitchen light and the fridge's patient hum. Aaron sat on the floor with his back against the door, sleeves pushed to his elbows, one ankle crossed over the other, the posture manuals use when they draw people who are about to repair something. He didn't ask where I'd been. He tilted his head toward the space beside him. I sat. "Do you want to be asked?" he said, voice steady, not performing mercy, offering it. "Please," I said, because prompts are the scaffolding of my better self. "Are you lonely?" "Some nights," I said. "Not here. Not when you ask first. Not when the kettle outruns the reasons." I took his wrist and placed his hand on my forearm the way he does when he needs to confirm I'm not inventing weather. His thumb traced once and believed me. "I feel useful," he said. "I want to be wanted before I'm useful." "Tonight's procedure," I said. "Touch first, argue second, report later." The kettle clicked like a small treaty. He poured water over mint. We called it dinner because names are cheaper than regret. I pinned the folded transfer ticket beneath the subway car magnet so Proud at Breakfast faced the room. Aaron read the graphite and his mouth did the smaller, braver thing. He took the dry erase marker from the cup by the fridge and wrote beneath the magnet, "Tomorrow, keep the torque." He didn't grin. He nodded like a man assembling a morning from honest screws. We made a rule that isn't noble. When prosecution tries to wear a bathrobe, one of us says tunnels and the other puts the kettle on while the first puts his hands where history can find them. 5 words when 5 are enough. Stop at the shoulder, not the ditch. Try to want what we promised, and when we don't, write 3 words on small paper and tell the room where we'll fail differently tomorrow. Days do what days do when you're trying to be an amateur human with professional consistency. The ticket in my pocket learned the shape of my left hand. Paper learns its carriers. On the late bus, I drafted messages to no one that began "I didn't ask" because I thought that counted as kindness and ended "May your breakfast go right." I didn't send them. The not sending felt like a skill borrowed from trains. Wait, then move. A week later, afternoon tried to be a test. A client wanted adjectives that sounded braver than the tunnels actually are. The rain turned the city into a rehearsal for forgetting. I walked past the subway yard and bought nothing. I left a bottle of water near the gate with a note. For whoever is waiting for a sister. A mechanic gave me the nod bridges use when they've held and will hold again. On my way home, I slipped a blank service slip into my pocket and wrote "turn" toward your name across the clean side. I didn't light anything. Diego and I adjusted our grammar. Fewer messages. No crew bunks unless a breakdown justified it. If we failed quieter. If we stopped without applause. Still, we orbited. He sent a photo of a signal lamp glowing steady green, my initials chalked faintly on the casing. I replied with steam curling over 2 mugs and Aaron's unshowy script under the magnet, torque. We flirted by timetables. We confessed by maintenance. One night a switch jammed in the rain and Diego texted, "Stuck point, need hands, wear boots." I was 5 blocks away and too willing. We worked the lever together, soaked and swearing, until the rail yielded like a body that finally understood. When it clicked home, he kissed me under the sodium lamp with the urgency of a man who knew timetables collapse if you ignore them. My back met cold steel, his hand found my hip. Somewhere water hammered iron. We didn't rush. We mapped mercy with our mouths and rehearsal with our hands. His palm slid under my shirt and paused. "Do you swear?" Then went only as far as the better version of me allowed. I bracketed him with a grip he could leave without proving anything. He reached for me and I let him. We stayed quiet because the city was listening. "We're bad at quitting," he said into my collar. "We're good at failing differently," I said into his jaw. He laughed once, small and stubborn, and rested his forehead to mine. "Text me a weather report in the morning," he said. "Tell me if the kettle beat the reasons." "It usually does," I said, "when we let it." Aaron met me at home with the posture of a question he had decided not to sharpen. He smelled like basil and patience. "Hungry?" he asked, and it wasn't a trap. We ate toast like it had been newly invented. After, he wrote under the magnet, "Ask before leaving." I wrote, "Hold me first." We signed it with our names, ridiculous and effective. We fail and fail differently and fail in ways that don't require anyone to stand in a tunnel pretending to know which track will save them. The room does not demand a verdict. The morning remembers its job. I still carry the transfer ticket in my left pocket. It warms against my thigh like a small, unlicensed gravity, heavier than paper has any right to be. Proud at breakfast. Touch before arguing. Choose the hard. None of it is noble. All of it is procedural, like signals. Red means stop, green means try again, yellow means maybe, but not forever.